Hi AJ, I've got a young man that was just killed very recently,
Yes, how long ago? Well, just
2 to 3 weeks ago.
2 to 3 weeks ago. Was it a car accident or? Yep.
Yeah. And he's very confused about why his head is so damaged.
Yep. He still looks like he's been in the accident.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's someone that my sons knew,
Oh, okay. Yep. So what's his name?
Sam.
Sam. Yep.
Yeah.
How old was he when he passed?
I'd say he's saying 23.
23. Yep. Yeah. Now Sam's okay with hearing what I've got to say. He's fine. He can hear okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's
Well, Sam, the first issue when you pass is that a lot of your body retains its form until you realise some things. So one of the things that's happened in your car accident is you got damaged and you got a lot of head injuries in your car accident. And there's still a feeling in you that you still have those injuries. Right? The truth is actually that you don't. Now let me just say that again, but this time what we'll do is we'll get someone to give you a mirror. And what we'll do is we'll get you to look at the mirror and you can see your damage that you've currently got, right, in the mirror. And then I want you to close your eyes for a moment and just imagine yourself without those injuries, before you had those injuries. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Now close your
Yes.
eyes. Now open your eyes and look in the mirror. What do you see?
He looks the way he did before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now how did that happen?
I think he's a little confused.
Yeah.
He's
That's pretty spacey, eh?
yeah. He's yeah.
It's pretty amazing. No one ever told him that on earth, eh?
No.
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 Okay. Let me explain what's happening. Inside of the soul, and you are now connected to what is called your spirit body, and there's a connection between your spirit body and your soul, and you're the masculine part of your soul, and then you've got your soulmate somewhere else, right? But that's your half of the soul. So your half of the soul is connected to your body. Right? Now, the emotions in your soul determine how your body looks. And if you imagine yourself to look a certain way, a lot of times you will look that way until you stop the imagination occurring. Now, when I said to you, imagine that you now don't have that form, what happened was you then thought you were imagining not having the form, but in reality, I was actually getting you to picture your real condition right now. And what was happening was the residual memory of the event caused you to retain an imagination of your body that wasn't a true perspective of it. And this can happen very, very frequently in the spirit world. So there's many, many people who pass in the spirit world who still imagine themselves to have cancer, who still imagine themselves to be burnt in a fire, who still imagine themselves to have died in a car accident and have this injury, who still imagine themselves to be hit by a sword or a spear if they've been in a war or a bullet or whatever. And they still imagine their bodies to look exactly the same, right? And until you get them to close their eyes and imagine themselves back to just before they were passed, they won't see the reality. And the reality is their spirit body doesn't have to look that way. So that's number one. So he gets that?
Yes, but what he's saying to me is that he's feeling a lot of the ugliness in his soul.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that caused him to retain this image in his body that wasn't real. Do you see what I'm saying? Now what he's seeing in his body is the real thing. So if he looks down at his body, can he see that there's different cracks and fissures in his body that he didn't have when he was on Earth? Yep. And can you see that he has quite a lot in the lower parts of his body? Yep. And he also has some through his heart.
Yes,
Yep.
round his heart.
Yep. So he can see all of those. Now they are the reality of his soul condition. If he just imagines himself not having that for a moment right now, just pictures that, so stands in front of the mirror and just pictures him not having it, And when he opens his eyes, what does he still see there?
All the cracks.
They're all still there, aren't they?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so he can see that that is the reality of his condition. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes.
So many spirits pass over and they imagine themselves to be in a totally different condition than they really are. By the way, this happens to all the ways on earth. Many of us imagine ourselves to be in a better or worse condition than we really are, right? And in the spirit world, it's so easy to do. But there's an easy way to test it, and that is just to close your eyes, look in a mirror, and imagine it to be different. And if it doesn't change, then it's real. And if it does change, then whatever was there before was not real. Does that make sense? So what I'm suggesting to him now is that these little cracks and fissures that he's got in his body, and you notice that his body is a certain brightness too. See, it gives off a certain light.
Yes, but it's not really bright.
No, it's very
quite
dark.
a dull,
Yeah.
dark,
Is it as dark as most people here, or a bit darker, or what's he finding?
quite a bit darker.
Right, quite a bit darker than even most people here, right? Now, what that does is, one thing he needs to understand about the spirit world is this soul is the true condition of the person, and the soul, through its energy, lights up the body and controls how the body reacts and demonstrates the true condition of the body. So the body demonstrates the true condition of the soul. Does that make sense to him?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So then the question becomes, how do I fix my soul? So does he want to know about how to do that?
Yes, he's very frightened.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling quite dazed, so I think he's feeling very hazy, very...
Yeah. What's happening is that this is a lot of information for him. See, on earth, most young people have never even conceived of anything spiritually. They've not investigated anything. Most people on earth in Australia now have not had hardly any spiritual background whatsoever by the time they're in their 20s. They've not really been interested in religion in any way. They're not interested in God in any way. They've not had much experience emotionally with regard to a lot of things, and they don't have much idea that there's even an afterlife. In fact, the majority of them feel very definitely there is none.
Yes, that's exactly
which has
how
been
he
his
felt.
condition.
He had no faith.
None whatsoever, right?
anything.
And now that he's dead, he realises he's still alive, so that's a shock in itself, right? And then on top of that, me just getting to look in the mirror changed how he looked. That's a shock in itself too, isn't it, right? So you imagine by now, all of a sudden, and I understand his confusion, all of a sudden, like, I'm being bombarded with new truths here, one after the other, that is so difficult to understand.
Yeah. I'm feeling quite churned in my stomach,
Yep.
and I think it's because he's having difficulty digesting what you're saying.
All right. So what's probably the best thing to do at this stage is to not say too much more, but instead what we'll do is we'll get a helper to come to him who will be able to help him when he's ready to be helped a bit more. How does that sound?
Yeah.
And that will be better for him. Otherwise, I'll explain a heap of things that will go in one ear and out the other, as the saying here goes here on earth, even though we don't necessarily have the same hearing in the spirit world. And what will happen is that in the end, it just deepens the confusion and the fear. And I don't want to do that. So what we'll do is we'll ask the brighter spirit to come, who's actually died in a car accident too. All right. And is that spirit on the natural love or divine love path? Can we just ask?
I just got natural
Yep.
love path.
And why has that spirit come?
Because he's not ready for the divine love path.
Right. Yeah. Now, I personally feel that every single person is ready for the divine love path. Mm-hmm. But the spirit actually who's come feels that the man is not ready for the divine love path. So that's something that needs to be addressed as well. And so my suggestion is, you know this man from a friend of your children. So my suggestion is continue to talk to him about the divine love path when you get the opportunity. Does that make sense?
I feel he is drawn to it because I felt him come to me a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And unfortunately what happens a lot in the spirit world is there's spirits on the natural love path who think they're helping a person, who don't know about the divine love path, but they're very drawn to come and to help the person, thinking that they're helping the person when in reality they themselves hasn't learnt enough to help somebody yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think also, AJ, he doesn't feel he deserves that kind of help.
And the truth is he does.
He does.
He does.
But he has a lot of shame.
Yeah, and he doesn't. I know he feels bad about a lot of the things now he's done on earth, and it's very quick, really. And he feels pretty bad about girls, actually. Yeah. So he knows that there'll be some emotions to work through there. But the truth is that God loves him just like God loves anyone else. And he can talk to God and connect to God and actually progress on the divine love path and progress very much more rapidly than the Spirit who's on the natural love path is going to show him. It's really just in the end his choice. Yeah?
Yeah. I feel he's even made just a slight little bit of a shift
just by
in this last minute or
yeah,
so.
and just by having a bit of that grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just acknowledging even that he has treated women not so good helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he's also been a bit of a drinker occasionally.
A very big drug abuser.
Yep.
To my, he's saying, yes, I abuse my body a lot
Yeah.
with drugs and alcohol.
So you have a lot of emotions of unworthiness to work through, because that's always the cause of us abusing ourselves. Does that make sense? So my suggestion now is we'll ask another spirit to come who is on the divine love path. So let's do that.
They just skid it in
Yeah,
pretty
let's get on
quickly.
that. Yeah. So one other thing too, I'd just like to talk to the spirit who's on the natural love path. You're okay with doing that?
Sorry.
I'd like to talk to the spirit who came in who wanted to help him on the natural love path.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you see that these other spirits who have just came in are brighter than you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that the brightness is a demonstration of how much truth and love they have in their soul?
Yes.
Okay. So can you see there must be things for you to learn from these spirits as well as this man who you thought you could be able to help?
Yeah, I'm beginning to think so.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons why you're on the natural love path is because you don't really believe there's a God yet, do you?
No, I haven't.
No.
I haven't trusted that.
Yeah. And these spirits who are brighter do believe there's a God. So my suggestion is have a listen to them as well as when they're talking to your friend you're trying to help, if you could have a listen to them as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's your law of attraction that you're here with us while we're talking about both of these things.
I understand that.
As you know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, AJ.
yeah, good eye.
Thank you.
Thank you.